Hey everybody, Edo here, and I'm slouching a little bit so you can get a good view of all this. This is Akrotiri, published by Z-Man Games for 2 players, and it was designed by Jay Cormier, if I pronounced that correctly, and Sen-Foong Lim. This game, in many ways, sort of blew my mind. I don't typically buy that many for 2-player games only. There's a number that I have purchased, and there's certainly a bunch around, deck building and card battling and stuff. But this is what a lot of people describe as small box, big game, or, heavy game in a small box. Or this is a luscious, deep, and interesting 2-player board game that has a nice set of tactics and strategy, but it isn't some tactical combat game, and it isn't some cooperative game. It's just a really smart board game. A really smart board game that could be for 4 players, for 6 players, but the designers kept it together, kept it tight, and it works really well. Seth brought this over to play. We played it. I just wanted to have a copy, and I picked it up, and I've played it since, and it's just really interesting play, and there's a lot going on here. It's not a light game. It's not heavy either, right? But it's medium. So basically what you're doing in this game is your objective is to have the most victory points at the end of the game, which is a combination of goal cards and temples. And essentially each player starts with 6 temples, and as you use temples, you get more action points, and sometimes you get extra victory conditions or victory cards. And then when the one player gets their last temple on the board, then it's the last turn. And so what's happening is every turn as you play, you are going to be expanding the board, and you start with the main square here, which has place for each player, and then you're going to expand 2 to start, just sort of as general setup, and then 1 as we go. So I don't know what turn this is, but basically on my turn I'm going to expand the board. And when you do, I know you guys can't see too much of this, you are going to be adding resources to the board, and you add a resource for each square has one of these markers like forest, and then you're going to add another one somewhere else on the map. So what you're doing as you play is you're building up the resources on the board and the travel channels. Interesting dynamic, as more resources are on the board, out in the wild, they're worth more. And what you're going to be doing in this game is you're using your points, your movement points, your action points to follow the ship routes to different ports. You might need to actually go to an island, then walk across the island, and then pick up another port. And then once you're at an island, you can pick up the goods, and then you can travel them back. So you're building currency that way while you're building out the board. Then you have the temples. The way the temples work is they're really interesting. They essentially call out landmarks for the discovery of the temple. So this would say, I guess, off to the west of this temple is a mountainous region, to the east is a water region or temple, and to the south a forest. And it basically uses the board lines and grid lines. You're not really going to see it, but once you figure it out, you know how to work it. But basically, you are able to place, once these conditions are met, once you can say, hey, look, to the west is mountains, to the east is water, and to the south is forest, you can place. And once you've placed, this isn't an example, so in this case maybe it's south forest, north mountain. But once you've placed, then, and you wouldn't place that guy, you would place this guy, you'll score this as a victory point towards the end of the game. Thinking about where you're going to place your temples, and there's only 1 temple per island, and then taking on harder to make temples. So that one had the 3, right? But you might have one that has, look at this is crazy, right? Costs more money, it's worth more victory points. And then as you go, you're going to be getting more goal conditions that say you get bonus points for temples that are really multiple connections away from the main island, for ones that are on red. So you've sort of got these, if it's on an incomplete island. So you have all these sort of victory conditions you're working towards as you're aggressively placing on the board and expanding out what you're doing. It's tight It's interesting. The game expands as you go, and the decisions and action points scale really nicely. It's simple to play, but it really has a lot of nice head-to-head dynamics. There's no real take that. You don't know what the other player is trying to do really, and I sort of want to say there's none, but there's a couple things you can do to, if you're really paying attention to what the other player is doing. But it's just a nice, intense thinker that has a nice escalation of play that just works, and the trade and all the layered mechanics. You just play it and you're like, wow, they could have made a bigger game, but they didn't. They kept it for 2 players. It's slick. The components are great. It fits in a small box. I'm sure there are many other games like this. This is the kind of video I'll put out. People will be like, have you played this game and this game and this game and this game? Because I guess I haven't. So if you know other games like this game I should check out to play with Emily or my kids or whoever, or Seth, let me know, because I like this game a lot and I recommend it. So subscribe, share, all that good stuff. More importantly, play some great games. Thanks.